This story is part of a new collection about the women of the American Revolution. These women were not included in the original book, but their courage, sacrifice, and service to the cause of American independence deserve to be remembered and shared. Women of the American Revolution. Sarah Franklin Bache, the organizer who helped clothe the Continental Army. By December 1780, a room in Sarah Franklin Bache's Philadelphia home was crowded with linen shirts for Continental soldiers. A French visitor saw 2,200 of them, each bearing the name of the woman who had made it. Later that month, Bache reported that 2,005 shirts had been packed for delivery to Trenton. Together, the numbers reveal a remarkable undertaking. Women raised money, bought linen, cut it, distributed the work, sewed the garments, and prepared them for the army. Bache had not begun the campaign. Esther De Berdt Reed had created the Ladies' Association and given it purpose. But when Reed died suddenly, Bache helped carry the plan through. Her achievement was practical and collective. She turned public feeling into clothing soldiers could wear. Sarah Franklin, known to family and friends as Sally, was born in Philadelphia on September 11, 1743. She was the only daughter of printer Benjamin Franklin and Deborah Reed Franklin. Her childhood unfolded around a family business tied to printing and public argument. Her father spent long periods in Britain, while her mother managed property and household affairs at home. Sally grew up seeing that public accomplishment depended on patient work behind the celebrated name. In 1767, she married Richard Bache, an English-born merchant. They had 8 children and lived at Franklin Court in the house Deborah had supervised while Benjamin was abroad. The house also sheltered the family's papers and correspondence. After Deborah's death in 1774, Sally assumed the family's household and social responsibilities. Richard later served as Postmaster General during the war, placing the Bache household close to the Revolution's communications network. The conflict divided the family. Sally's half-brother, William Franklin, royal governor of New Jersey, remained loyal to the crown, while her father advocated independence and left for France as an American diplomat. In 1776, Franklin took Sally's eldest son with him. Sally remained with Richard and their other children, sustaining family life while letters, loyalties, and loved ones crossed an ocean. British forces captured Philadelphia in September 1777. The Baches fled inland to Manheim Township in Lancaster County. Their departure was especially difficult because Sally had recently given birth. British officer John Andre was quartered in Franklin's house. When the family returned in 1778, the building and much of its furniture survived, but books, musical instruments, scientific equipment, and Franklin's portrait had been taken. Return did not mean normal life. Wartime shortages and collapsing continental currency drove prices upward. Sally told her father that ordinary goods cost once unthinkable sums. Inflation made even generous donations difficult to measure by their printed totals. The pressure reached every household account and struck soldiers more severely. Pay arrived late or in badly depreciated money, uniforms wore through, and basic clothing became difficult for the army to supply. By 1780, the military crisis felt immediate. The British capture of Charleston brought one of the war's worst American defeats, and the Continental Army struggled with hunger and desertion. Philadelphia remained a center of government, printing, finance, and political society. Women there understood that decisions made in homes, shops, and streets could strengthen or weaken the cause. The city's response would test whether private sacrifice could become public supply. On June 10, 1780, Esther De Berdt Reed published The Sentiments of an American Woman. Reed argued that women should offer more than wishes for the soldiers' success. They should make themselves useful. Within days, 36 women met and created a plan. Philadelphia was divided into 10 districts, with teams assigned to visit households and ask women for contributions. Sarah Bache collected in the 5th Ward with Anne Willing Francis. The canvassers called on women and girls across lines of wealth and rank, recorded what they received, and treated each gift as part of a common offering. Some donated modest coins, others gave larger sums, but the canvas counted both. Bache also wrote to acquaintances outside the city. The Philadelphia effort collected more than 300,000 heavily depreciated Continental dollars, together with hard currency. The organizers imagined more than a local charity. County treasuresses would forward collections to state leaders, and Martha Washington would head a national female association. Women in New Jersey, Maryland, and Virginia adopted related plans, though results differed. Women maintained correspondence, so the scattered campaigns could learn from others. The campaign used correspondence, newspapers, district organization, accounts, and personal persuasion. Its methods were civic and public, although women held no political office. The Philadelphia women wanted their contribution to be an extraordinary reward placed directly in soldiers' hands. George Washington recommended shirts instead. Reed objected that government already owed the troops ordinary clothing and feared such a supply would not convey the women's gratitude. Washington remained firm, arguing that cash might create disorder and shirts would provide the greatest benefit. The association then turned money into linen and linen into work. In September, Bache told her father she was cutting and making shirts and giving pieces to women of her acquaintance. The members would not reduce the fund by paying for sewing, so they undertook the labor themselves. Fundraising became a production network spread through Philadelphia households. Then the association lost its founder. Reed died on September 18, 1780, before finishing the undertaking. Bache, working with 4 other women, assumed responsibility for the funds, linen, accounts, distribution, and shirts. Her leadership did not erase Reed's vision. It honored it by keeping a public promise when grief and uncertainty might have halted the work. The task required far more than sewing seams. Linen had to be purchased in a scarce market, measured, cut to patterns, carried to volunteers, recovered, checked, counted, and packed. Management was as essential to the finished garment as needlework itself. Women balanced that labor with children, households, illness, and wartime burdens. Bache's home became a center where thousands of separate acts of work gathered into one military supply. Early in December, the Marquis de Chastellux visited Bache and saw a room filled with shirts. He counted 2,200 and observed that each carried its maker's name. On December 26th, Bache told Washington that 3 boxes containing 2,005 shirts had gone to Colonel Samuel Miles for shipment to Trenton. Sickness had delayed them, and she hoped they would be worn with as much pleasure as they were made. A linen shirt was a basic layer worn next to the skin. For soldiers in winter quarters, a clean replacement meant warmth and relief from garments worn ragged through marching and camp life. Each shirt was also a personal offering. The shipment could not repair the Army's pay system or end shortages. It did something immediate. It placed usable clothing in the supply chain and attached named women's labor to regiments' endurance. In February 1781, Washington thanked the Philadelphia Ladies' Committee and praised its patriotism. His language reflected the era's limits, presenting their service through supposedly softer domestic virtues. Yet the women had moved beyond a private household sphere. They issued a political appeal, canvassed a city, accounted for funds, built interstate connections, negotiated with military authority, and managed large-scale production. Benjamin Franklin returned from France in 1785 and lived at Franklin Court with Sally's family. She served as his hostess and cared for him during his final years. He died in 1790. The Baches later traveled to Britain and moved to a farm along the Delaware. Sally returned to Philadelphia after developing cancer and died on October 5, 1808. She was buried near her parents in Christ Church Burial Ground. Sarah Franklin Bache was more than a famous founder's daughter. Her record shows how civic power could operate without office, rank, or a vote. The Ladies' Association did not overturn women's political boundaries, and its members described their work through duty and benevolence. Still, they proved women could mobilize money, labor, communication, and public opinion nationally. Bache mattered because she completed what crisis and death left unfinished. She helped turn a bold appeal into a citywide campaign and thousands of garments ready for military use. She shared the work and credit, preserving Esther Reed's initiative and the names of the women who sewed. Her story reminds us that leadership can be the courage to inherit responsibility, organize many hands, and keep a promise until help reaches those who need it.